Good afternoon, everyone. Here is Henriette Dybkjær from Maritime Development Center, presenting the tidbit of this Wednesday. Today in Denmark, the weather is sunny and nice, so a nice day is awaiting us. And I thought that I got this very good karma from the bakers this morning, because look what I got, a heart-shaped bun. So this is what I'm going to have for lunch while we are having a tidbit with Johan Hygum Hillers today. So Johan Hygum Hillers, he is only 30 years old. He's really a millennium himself, and I'm really amazed because he only has the high school or gymnasium level of education, because he started at RUC, but only after 3 months he dropped out, because he thought, well, I can just do this by myself. And now 5 years later, he has a company with headquarters here in Denmark and also office in Shanghai. So, Johan, you're really a product yourself of the millennials. You're going to explain a little bit more about for us today. So let's have this 15 minutes tidbit with Johan, which will be followed by 15 minutes of Q&A afterwards. And here, ask a question, or in the chat, you can write your questions you might have for Johan that we will talk about after the presentation. Johan, welcome on stage.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I have a lot of things to say, and also about the generation. But first of all, I can say that, sorry, Henriette, I can really hear myself like in an echo. Do you know how to deal with that?
Yes, I do. You probably have 2 browsers open with the Crowdcast, so that's why you have the echo. Test that you don't have it open in another browser, like a Safari browser or...
Yeah. I think we got it like that.
Cool.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm sorry about the interruption. My point was that we started this company for 5 years ago. Me and a couple of other young professionals, we saw at that time, and still today, that young professionals have so many opportunities, and so many opportunities, first of all, for education and for jobs and so on. So it can actually be difficult to figure out where to go, what is the right choice for me. And what we would like to offer is a place where we're not your dad or your psychiatrist. Either we are your friend, your colleague, or your boss. So we should be this young to young independent counselor. And not because we have any specific background in what we do, but we saw pretty quick that young professionals do not have unique problems. It's pretty much the same, and it's pretty much all about getting a better overview of how to deal with it, but also to figure out what is my essential needs, what do I like to do, where do I want to go, and what kind of actions can I actually take right now. So that was how we started the company. And if we just go to the slides, actually, we of course have a lot of insights about the so-called millennials. I prefer to call them young professionals, mostly to be sure that we're talking about the same group of people. We mostly work with people from age of 25 to 35 years old, but of course they have names as Generation Y, C, Millennials, and so on. And you probably already have some ideas of who they are, but hopefully today you have an even better idea, even though you are a manager, you are a colleague, or you are a young professional yourself. So the approach we are running at the same time here is just for me to have an idea of how you deal with young professionals in your everyday life. And I can see there's a couple of roads yes to this work on a daily basis with young professionals. As well, we have just put a new one up about, do you actually think there is a difference between the young professionals today from any other generation? Because I feel sometimes that Deloitte or Boston Consulting Group likes to talk about us as a problem just because then they can sell some consulting hours. because if you look at my parents, they were probably also an issue for my grandparents and so on. So I will today try to focus on what I think defines this young organization, my young generation. Yes. So just to be very clear, our insights come from our daily work. We have done more than 5,000 coaching sessions with young professionals, mostly here in Copenhagen, but also from our office in Shanghai. We have been visiting clients in New York, London, Singapore, and mostly all over the world. And of course, today, even before Corona, you can have a lot of online meetings. So we try to broaden ourselves out, not only talking with Danish young professionals, but young professionals all over the world. On top of that, we also prefer to meet their managers, their colleagues, and so on, to have a broader perspective of what is the so-called issues with the young professionals, and not only talking with the young themselves. I have just brought this classic problem just to give you an idea of what kind of issues we see inside a company. This is just an example of this elite program in a big American corporate we have been working with. 7 out of 10 of the most talented young professionals would like to change job if they were offered better tasks at a competing firm, which is a little bit scary actually. But even more, what we figured out was that 9 out of 10 of these young professionals actually had difficulties explaining what better task they were looking for, which actually means that their managers have no chance to actually give them this better task. So this is why we do this, and this is why we see a lot of companies and managers has difficulties to deal with the young generation, is that we have a lot of ideas of what we would like to do and what we don't like, but sometimes it can actually be very, very difficult for us to be specific or find the right words, or just to articulate the essential needs, not just about a title or a bigger salary and so on. So what we try here is to be in between this 7 out of 10 and talking with them, what is your essential needs, what would you like to do, and see if we can get these numbers down, about 9 out of 10. Okay, I hope this gives you an idea of what we do and how we help companies. I have brought a lot of, I will say, a sentence about how you can see this young generation, and I've put it all up into a framework where I talk about myself, just because of course you can find hundreds of examples who are contradictory to what I'm talking about. So the first one here is just to give you an idea of how I see we have been growing up. This Corona crisis might be the first bigger crisis in our life. The last one was, I'd say, in 2008, and I was only 18 at that time, playing football, and went to the gymnasium. So I can't really remember anything about this, which means that until for 3 or 4 months ago, we expected a great financial situation, and we expected it to feel safe, which in this case means that why talk about high salaries and why talk about being safe in a company when this is just, a factor that we expect from the very beginning. And that means that we see a lot of bosses need to change the focus to what I would call the time. Time is our most important currency. That means that that's the most limited resource we actually have, and that's why we can talk about after just, let's say, 12 or 18 months, I want to have another job. I'm a little bit scared of being, this Maersk guy or this banking guy for the rest of my life, because now I actually feel that I know everything in this workplace because I've been here for 12 months. Let's continue. So that could be very, very difficult for a lot of managers to deal with. So individual self-understanding. my problems are unique. When we meet all these young professionals, they come to us with their coaching issues. They all sit down and tell me, okay, I have this problem and I might be the only one in the world who's dealing with a boss who cannot understand me, or I don't know what the right steps are in my career, or my colleagues misunderstood me in this task, and now I think they all hate me, or and so on. Oh, the other way around. I feel that I'm so good at what I'm doing, so I feel that no one can actually challenge me where I am right now. And our point when we have talked with that many young professionals is that I have heard it before. With all respect, you are not that unique. Um, so why not just talk about how we can put up a framework where you can actually feel that you are moving forward? But as I see it in companies and when I talk with managers, they are dealing with their young professionals in a way where they try to tell them that they are not unique, but they are feeling unique. And that's a class that we often need to deal with. Yeah. And then we can go to the next step, third-party influence. Because even though we think we are unique, we are, in my opinion, a great result of the people around us, which also means that managers suddenly actually think they have everything under control, and the next day a young person will meet up and say, hey, I want more salary and I want it now. And the manager will feel it as a shock because they actually haven't heard there should be any issue about this. But that might be because this young professional has talked with he or her dad or a friend where they actually hear that the same peer in another company get a 10% higher salary. And suddenly they come into the office and have new or higher demands. So we need also to be very aware that young professionals have stakeholders or people around them that they pick up things. So when you as a manager are talking with them, you could also ask them, what kind of stakeholders do you actually have around you? And what kind of people do you actually spare with? Because then you will also have an idea of who you are actually talking to when they come with new demands. And another thing is that even though we think we are unique and we have a lot of stakeholders, so we help the young professionals to understand that Instagram does not have all the right answers for you. We can also tell you about the other side. Suddenly things getting more and more complex, because when you're growing up and you, let's say at the university, you have lectures for 3 months or 6 months, and you will get a number or some kind of feedback. But now the world will suddenly open up to you when you're getting out and having a new job. You will suddenly just become a part of a bigger system, a more complex system. So suddenly you cannot only think about yourself. Suddenly you don't have everything in control about what you would like to do and what you have done right or wrong, because sometimes the expectations around you can be more unclear. So we need support. So if you are a young professional yourself, or you are a colleague to us, or you are our manager, we need to figure out together how you can support us. And of course, now we're just talking about young professionals today. Of course, we should support you in the other way around, but this is just for you to learn about us. We need support, even though we seem very tough at the outside, even though we seem very clear about our path. We need you to help us. Okay, and the last thing is just to put a little bit of COVID-19 on top of this. Until for, let's say, 3 months ago, there is an average job hopping in the young generation for about 2 years, and in some industries less, which mean that it's very difficult for a lot of managers to make sure that they build up the right career path for you internally in the company, because if you're gone after 12 or 18 months, they don't have a chance to build the right kind of know-how on top of you, but also just to make sure that you have done some of the boring work. And so we have dealt with a lot of clients to figure out how we can stop this job hopping. Not because there's no job that could be better you outside, but often it's about that it's a little bit more difficult to talk with your manager about your essential needs, instead of just talking with a recruiter who can tell you that, oh, you can get your business manager title if you change job now, or you can get a higher salary, or we can put you into new adventures. So we changed job again about time because we think we are in a hurry, and that can be an issue as well. Of course, we will, after 10 years at the labor market, have a broad overview of the labor market, of course, because we have changed a little bit more often. But in case of this COVID-19, all the individuals, all the young professionals we talk with right now, they are suddenly more and more open to the internally jobs and the internal job opportunities and the network they actually have because they have been there for a longer time and so on. So, of course, this crisis that we see for the first time changed the way we think. So, to be very clear, we are young professionals, this generation, just a great result of a very, very long, great time. This is kind of the same. It's just to talk about the problem and solution. With this young professionals, if you see problem one, of course, we need you to help us to connect the dots and be aware that we are not always listening. And this problem about impatience and job hopping, we need you to understand that time is very, very important for us. And even though we don't talk about high salaries, we also want it. We just expect it from the day one. So it can sometimes be very important for us to that you help us to open our horizon, as well that this crisis actually can be a good thing for the young generation, hopefully in many perspectives, with all respect. Yeah. Okay, and you are, of course, very welcome to reach out to us. We have a lot of experience. We are always willing to share our thoughts, our insights, and so on. So please just reach out to us. And I think I actually just want to put it up in an open discussion, and let's see if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, Johan. Very interesting, very, very good way of putting it into these kind of boxes and statements about your generation. I have a few questions, but let's start with the question I've got here from Anders Krag Peterson. He says, how does the managers prepare on leading young professionals? How can managers do best to connect with the young professionals?
I always recommend managers to see themselves as in a bigger ecosystem of young professionals, because if you have a favorite or 2 or 3 young professionals, you can pretty fast be disappointed because suddenly they will actually leave you again. I think that's just how it is today. But hopefully, by having a good relation and see yourself as a part of a bigger ecosystem, you can tell them, okay, if I cannot help you any longer in my team or in this company, I hope that we can keep connected, and maybe we can reach out to each other every 6 months, every 12 months, and maybe one day you will actually come back to us. So if you see it in the bigger perspective, you will feel more calm when they actually leave you. Yeah, when your favorites leave you.
This is also one thing I have experienced with all the interns and young professionals I've worked with, that they appreciate so much when I open up for my network, and I want to kind of mentor them and say, how can I help you? How can I explain a career path? It's not a problem if you like for my own. I was originally educated at the art academy in Italy, and now I'm sitting in the maritime organization, and so I'm a kind of example for them, that they say, okay, so you don't have to be afraid that now you took this track and now you can't go to another track. So this is something that they have been very happy to experience, that, well, it's never too late to change track. This is also career building. I mean, as you're explaining the career building, the way that they know where they want to head is very important to them. But isn't it a problem? I mean, I'm so happy where I am now, and I could never have expected that. But at least for my generation, and I'm in my 50s, it has been a lot of casualties that has created our careers for me and many of my friends and relations. What do you think about the casualties creating your career? Sometimes you just, jump out in something you didn't expect, and then it shows up being good.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think time is the solution for everything here, which means that when we are 35, we can suddenly understand how great it was to go to the university. We had so much time off and so on. When you are, let's say, 50, you could better understand that it was super nice to be 30 or 35. The whole world was open for you. So the only reason why I have anything to do is because we want to solve it now. But I think time is definitely just the biggest thing to solve things like that. That will help you getting perspective in the long term.
Some other thing I've heard about the young generation is that they want to work for a cause.
Yeah.
Companies like Ørsted and Vestas, they are very, very popular amongst the young professionals.
Yeah, I'm always a little bit skeptic about that. Most of all, I think the reason why we love to talk about it is that we are in great times. Because so it's interesting if we have a longer crisis now, if it still is the biggest topic for the young professionals. But I can always always test this by asking the young professionals, okay, if you think saving the environment is the most important for you, we could start by now by giving 20% of your salary to Red Cross or to some kind of save the rainforest in Brazil. We can do it from today. Would you like to do that? So, and often I, of course, hear that they will like to keep their salary, they will like to keep themselves safe, and when they are in the top of the pyramid, they are ready to help. Of course, there can be, cases the other way around, but this is the best question I can ask them when they talk about saving the environment. We can do it today.
And so if you tell them to give 20% of their salary, they're okay doing that?
I have never heard anyone say yes from now on. So
yes. So what about them being economically safe? That was something very important for my generation. That it was important to have your salary because that made you independent and so on. But I mean, now you have all this A-kasse and this kind of things here in Denmark that really holds the hand underneath you so you won't fall. Is that something different from when I was young to now? That people are safe just in general?
I think it's kind of the same for the young generations, that when you're young, you have a lot of money for yourself, and you can be like, okay, I can live for half of it, but suddenly you get a mortgage, you get 2 kids, and you want a car as well. And then you figure out, okay, I have to stabilize my financial situation to be sure I can do this for a longer time. And then I think we end up in the same track as any other generation.
So, and what about just changing job? I mean, I've changed job a few times in my life, and every time you get a new job, you have to find out where is the coffee maker, where is the paper, how is the culture amongst the colleagues. It's kind of pretty hard. The first 3 months, you're pretty much lost in your new company because you need to get to know everything new. So if you change job every year, let's say, I think it must be quite hard or even stressful to do this impact of new all the time.
Yeah, but again, we have kind of been used to getting new all the time. Take a look at iPhones, for instance, that it's not a thing we can have for longer than 1 or 2 years, and then we have to go for a new thing. So I think we have the same kind of idea or the same understanding of pace when we jumping from job to job, but you will not get any good out of keeping your iPhone for 10 years, but you can actually get a lot of good things staying in the same kind of company or team for 10 years. Because after being what I would call årsjul in Danish, but after been doing a couple of years in the same company, you actually understand the cycle so much better, and you have a network, so you actually don't have to think about the coffee machine. You have to think about what could be the next step in the future for this company, and not only my career, but for the bigger and the better. Yeah.
So now you've been working with your company for 5 years. What's next? Are you still going strong? Not tired of your job?
I had so many great visions back in January, and then Corona hit us in Shanghai, and it just when they opened up, it hit us here in Europe. So right now, I enjoy that. I feel very privileged about having a job right now, and I have great people around us and great clients. But hopefully, we can take some of the big visions back again. But individuals is definitely the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. But I cannot be young with the young ones that much longer.
So when do you think you have to leave over the CEO position to someone younger than yourself? When you not be young with the youngs any longer?
I don't want to put a number of when you're not young any longer, but I definitely think that there's a very interesting time for us when you are between 30 and 40, mostly because we see that it's getting more complex to be, let's say, a young professional. You want to become a manager, you want to become a leader, you want to start up, but also you want to build up a family and having kids and so on. So there's so many things that we would like to spare with this age group about. And hopefully we can find some generation, C or younger, to take over minus 30 years old.
Cool. What is the new generation, the ones who are teenagers right now? What is the name of that generation?
Probably around my smaller brothers, they are 22. They will probably be Generation C, and then there will be this. I can actually. What do you call in Danish? You call them Årgang 0, but it's probably the kids around 2000. Okay. And they are probably more spoiled. I even feel that my younger brothers at 22 that I cannot really understand them because they are so much more digital and there's just a lot of things already there that I try to understand, but they are not finished with the university yet, so I don't have to deal with them already.
Then you might just employ some of them so they can help you out with understanding that generation. It's interesting that you, being 30, might even have problems understanding who is 22.
Exactly, but it could be the other way around as well, that I don't understand people at 50. But you cannot just frame it up in generations all the time. I think that the main point could be that you should focus at the individual, but that's a whole another thing.
Cool. I think that we have come to an end. Sorry, I was just putting up our last poll. I thank you so much for your insights and for a cozy lunch talk about millennials. And I will try to understand both my colleagues and my children who are at the Generation C. So I hope you could have helped me a little bit out with the teenagers, but I'll see if I can find help somewhere else. Johan, thank you so much for your lunchtime. It was wonderful to hear your insights. And if some of you would like to hear about the Seafarers Happiness Index, tomorrow we have Steve in this Tidbit studio tomorrow at 12. Or as my colleague just wrote here, if you want to sign up for invitations to other tidbits, you can do it with the link that she wrote to us. And we also have the app of the Crowdcast, and there you can actually have it's a little bit like a YouTube channel. You can see all the tidbits which has been and will come up. Last thing, I would like to kindly ask you to fill out the poll. And it's a very, very sympathetic poll that my colleague Tia has created for you. Have a look at that one. It's I think you will like it, Johan, because it has emojis and a lot of fun stuff on it. It's not the usual boring stuff when you have to do a poll. So have a look at that one. So again, have a wonderful Wednesday. Enjoy the nice weather here in Denmark, and see you for next tidbits. Bye.
Bye.